One big challenge of covering this trial is that there's no video or audio recording allowed in the courtroom itself. Everyone knows who Donald Trump is, and so both the prosecution and the defense teams want to suss out what sorts of biases these prospective jurors are bringing to the case.
No one is suggesting that you can't be a fair juror because you heard of Donald Trump. We don't expect you to have been living under a rock for the last 8 years or the last 30 years. This case is about whether this man broke the law. Did he falsify business records in order to cover up an agreement to unlawfully influence the 2016 presidential election?
Apparently, while one of the prospective jurors was being questioned, Trump murmured something under his breath, potentially within earshot of the juror. The judge quickly scolded Trump and scolded Trump's attorney, Todd Blanche.
Before we continue, I want to put something on the record. So, Mr. Blanche, while the juror was at the podium maybe 12 feet from your client was audibly uttering something. I don't know exactly what he was uttering. He was audibly gesturing, speaking in the direction of the juror. I won't tolerate that. I will not have any jurors intimidated in this courtroom. I want to make that crystal clear.
Yes, Your Honor.
Interestingly, this is not the first time that Trump has been scolded by a judge for mumbling things under his breath in the presence of jurors. A big theory of the prosecution's case is that Trump orchestrated hush money payments to Stormy Daniels in the final weeks of the 2016 campaign because Trump was worried about negative publicity around his conduct with women. Because what had happened just a few days earlier was the release of the extremely controversial Access Hollywood tape. And so the prosecution says that the Trump campaign was on high alert for this potentially bad publicity. The prosecutors asked to play the Access Hollywood tape for jurors as evidence of this theory.
The court has ruled that the Access Hollywood tape is relevant to the critical issues in this case. However, the court struck a compromise that precludes the people from playing the tape, but permits testimony about the tape and its impact on the campaign.
It's not a moot point. I think that this is kind of the impetus. This is what led to everything that followed, so it is not a moot point. To play the tape itself is so prejudicial to see Mr. Trump depicted in the words coming out of his mouth, facial expressions, hand gestures. I remain convinced at this moment, based upon what I anticipate will be the evidence, that the tape itself should not come in. I am clarifying my ruling. You can bring out what was said in the tape. What I didn't want was for the jurors to hear Mr. Trump's voice and see the gestures.
Before this trial began, the judge issued a gag order on Trump and other people involved in the case. And that gag order, among other things, prohibits Trump from making any public comments about likely witnesses in the case. Prosecutors say that Trump has violated that gag order.
We are asking the court to impose a sanction of $1,000 for each of 3 posts that violate the court's order.
Just a few days before the trial started, Trump posted an attack on his former lawyer, Michael Cohen, on his Truth Social page, and Cohen is expected to be a star witness for the prosecution.
We are also asking the court to direct the defendant to take down the offending posts. And we're asking the court to remind the defendant that further violations of the court's order could result in jail time.
There's going to be a hearing in the coming days about that contempt request.
To be clear, we very much believe that the 3 posts that were just referenced did not violate the gag order. You know, it's not as if President Trump is going out and targeting individuals. He's responding to salacious repeated demon attacks by these witnesses. So we very much want an opportunity to explain to court why this is not a violation of the gag order, Your Honor.
So we'll be watching that very closely, and we'll have to see how the judge views this issue around pretrial publicity and Trump's out-of-court statements that could potentially impinge on the fairness of the case, could potentially be seen as threatening witnesses against him, or could potentially pollute the jury pool.